The Reedy, Set, Grow podcast with Trish Reedy.
Welcome to Reedy, Set, Grow, the podcast that inspires you to grow into the person you're meant to be. I'm excited to have my guest today, Dave Shultz. I'm your host, Trish Reedy. I'm a local mortgage lender, and I just love our Kansas City community and being involved here. So I'm bringing you some interesting people who have done some pretty inspirational, inspiring things. And Dave, I don't even really know where to start with you. We got lots of little stories we're going to talk about.
Great.
Let's start with that one time that you almost died.
Oh boy, wow, that's a way to kick it off, isn't it?
Right, yeah. Just tell us what happened.
Oh boy, so many years ago, I kind of got my arm twisted into joining a community that you're very familiar with.
Yep, been a part of it. Yep.
The triathlon community. And it started off, doing short little triathlons around here. And then somebody said, well, let's sign up for an Ironman. And I was like, well, I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool.
So for our listeners, an Ironman includes...
It is a long distance triathlon that includes a 2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike, and a full marathon, 26.2 miles. Is that
It's a long day.
Yeah, all done in under 17 hours. 17
and
hour
in
limit.
consecutively, in order, at
Yes.
one time.
One after the other.
Yes. You got to be a little crazy, a little off your rocker to do it.
Basically, yes.
Yes, and it takes a long time to train for that.
It does, yes. The training and the commitment to prepare yourself to run and bike and swim those kind of distances is a lot. You know, a lot of people will train for a year or more to do an Ironman. And so we did. We had the community here in Kansas City has always been spectacular. So you always have a ton of people to train with, which was great. Training went well.
As training does, usually,
It
right?
does, yeah.
It's not game day.
Yeah. The anticipation for the race weekend was fantastic. I signed up for my first one. It was to be in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin.
Which is also the one that I finished.
I know.
Not the same year that,
Good race.
that this story happened, but...
Yeah. So it's, we packed the bikes, we packed the bags. We all headed up to Madison for the weekend, super excited. And, nerves, anticipation, everything you would expect in the days leading up to the race.
Yeah.
And we woke up race day. You get up at 4 o'clock or something because you have to be in the water in that particular
really
race.
early.
Yeah, you tread water for 20 minutes or so before you start swimming. And
Right.
the curveball that was kind of thrown was that it was cold and rainy. And I remember somebody saying, don't take too much salt, don't take too much electrolytes, something along those lines. And maybe it stuck in my head. And I was a newbie. I had never done this.
Right.
I didn't realize that nutrition and hydration were almost as important.
It's the fourth sport of
for
triathlon.
Sure. I didn't know that. I didn't know anything at the time. It was my first one. So
So you learned this lesson.
I learned it the hard way. I swam, and the swam felt great. And I got on the bike, and I made it through the bike, other than it being cold, rainy, and windy. And felt horrible when I started the run, but I figured it's an Ironman. I've never done this.
And you're how long in? 10, 12 hours at that point?
Something like that,
Okay.
yeah. I think the swim took me, hour, 15 minutes or so. The bike took probably around 6 hours. So now we're on the run.
Yep.
And it's starting to get dark, and, I feel progressively worse. But again, it's an Ironman.
You don't know what you don't know then.
If it felt good, everybody would do it,
yes,
right?
It does not.
And my last memory was roughly the halfway point of the marathon. And apparently about 9 miles later, I went down face first and passed out. And yeah, somebody found me. Somebody behind me running in the race found me. And out of the strange things that happen in this world, he happened to be an EMT.
Oh my gosh.
Who was running the race.
Wow.
Yeah, rolled me over, cleared my airway, did all the things he's supposed to do, sent somebody for help.
Yeah.
And I woke up 2 days later in the University Hospital there in Madison, Wisconsin. Spent 2 days in a coma.
Wow.
And it was all because of something called hyponatremia, which is hyponatremia. It's basically overhydration and lack of sodium. So you drink too much water, you don't get enough salt, all your organs start shutting down in order of importance. And that's what happened. And I eventually just passed out and fell down and scared.
And didn't remember it.
No.
I can't imagine your family really liked that.
They did not like that at all. No. It was,
But the good news is you recovered.
I did. Yep.
And didn't let that short DNF, do not finish. You didn't let it stop you.
Yeah, I have a hard time not finishing things. And in fact, when I was in a coma. The Ironman races, believe it or not, you have to be crazy to do them, but they sell out very quickly.
They do.
And so they usually open up registration for the subsequent year the day after the race is over. So that happened, and it sold out while I was in a coma. So my friends wrote a letter to the race director saying Dave would have been first in line to sign up.
But he was in a
If
coma.
he hadn't have been in a coma. And through a lot of convincing with my family and, agreeing to hire a coach and learn more about nutrition, they let me train for it again. And the good news is I went back a year later, same race, just with an incredible group of friends that came to watch and finished. It was great. So,
That takes a pretty strong mind to
For
get
sure.
through it once, let alone
yeah,
twice.
it's definitely, it's a sport that seems physically impossible to a lot of people, but it's as much mental as it is physical.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
It's not high speed. It's just
Yeah.
keep going one step
Yeah.
after the other.
Yeah. So fast forward a couple years from then, and you got involved in this charity, and you've helped raise $12 million?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, how many people can say, I've raised $12 million?
Well, a lot of
that's
people
cool.
involved. It's very cool.
Well, absolutely. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I been involved with a charity called the Big Slick Celebrity Weekend for, this would have been year 11. Had it been a normal year, we would have had our event in June. It is a charity that raises money for the Pediatric Cancer Center at Children's Mercy Hospital. And it's kind of unique in that our 5 hosts, so to speak, of the event are all Kansas City guys who are actors. So we've got Paul Rudd, Jason Sudeikis, Eric Stonestreet, David Koechner, and Rob Riggle, all Kansas City guys. And they commit to coming back every year for that weekend to put on this event that involves, and historically it's involved a softball game out at the K at Royals, where the Royals play before a Royals game, a bowling tournament, and then some sort of event Saturday night that involves live music and auction.
A lot of fun.
A lot of fun. And the most important part of the weekend, at least for a lot of our celebrities that come to town, is the mornings that we spend at the cancer center with the
At the
kids
hospital.
playing games and stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
cool.
the part they love the best. And yeah, this was an odd year. Obviously, we couldn't have our event, and at the last minute, we decided to do a virtual event and broadcast basically 10 nights of 10 memories and see how much money we could raise. And we raised over $2 million this year.
Wow.
So pretty excited about that.
So what's your role? Because you're famous in the triathlon world with your band that we'll talk about later, but you're not Paul Rudd, so.
No, not Paul Rudd. But I was his roommate in college. It's kind of how I've been involved with this for so many years.
Okay, here's the backstory.
Yes, we were in the same fraternity pledge class at the University of Kansas. I won't say the year. It's a long time ago. So as the event...
I remember in Clueless, one of my favorites, he's wearing the KU hat.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He usually tries to...
I love it.
To work something into his programs. So yeah, that's kind of... I've been friends with the family for a long time, and when they needed help after a few years of the event, when we got to the point where we were starting to do things through social media and merchandising, things like that, they got me involved to help with that side of it. And, we're a small group. We're one of the unique charity events in the city in that everybody's a volunteer. So all of the money goes to the hospital. It's family, it's friends. When the event first started, Jason Sudeikis' mom is a travel agent, so she did all the travel.
Right.
Paul's mom helped with logistics.
She hosted the kegger, right?
Not yet. We're still waiting on that.
Okay, well, just make sure I get my invitation.
Yes. And so, it's been kind of a family and friends event over the years. All his fraternity brothers are involved too, and they're the ones that handle all the transportation and everything for all our celebrities all weekend. And just, it's been a really fun event. And of course, most important part is what it does for the hospital. And that feels really good to be part of that.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. Well, I won't ask you to spill too many details while we're recording, but we will talk about that a little bit more after because, we got to get the dish and the gossip, right? Yeah. Man. So speaking of your own celebrity, tell us a little bit about your band.
Oh, boy. Yeah, somebody the other day made a comment. Somebody brought up something about me being in a band, and they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That too? And they're like, yeah, he's kind of like an onion. You start to peel back the
There's
layers.
layers.
All sorts of
Maybe more like
strange
an
things.
ogre.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean.
So the band ironically started because of that triathlon where I collapsed. As a joke, I wrote a song about, as you get to know triathletes and their training habits and things, it's a quirky community.
Right.
People do things weird ways. They rub lotions on their bodies so they can sit on bikes for 6 hours at a time. And it's a strange community. And I wrote a song, and it was kind of a joke, and people passed it around. And I got a call from a race director one day, and he's like, "Hey, can you come perform at our triathlon?" And I was like, well, I don't have a band. I did all the instruments in my basement myself. So I found 2 other guys who are triathletes who played instruments, and that's how the band came to be. And, we've been playing ever since.
So you've played races, you've played bars, you played in my headphones while I was training for my own race.
Sorry about that.
I mean, tell us some of those stories. I'm pretty sure you even wrote a song for someone's wedding.
You're right. We did.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah. It's probably the first and last wedding we'll ever get invited to play. But it's, we started off playing at the triathlons because those are the people that knew us.
Right.
And we only knew 10 songs at the time. Let's play it over. And then we released an album and then another album. And we started playing in bars. And kind of if you call it the pinnacle of our career, so to speak, as far as the triathlon community, is we went to Hawaii to play at the Ironman World Championship 4 or 5 years ago.
That's a big deal.
It was great. It was fantastic.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, there are Ironman triathlons all over the world. Literally all over the world. But the Ironman triathlon is in Kona, Hawaii.
The Super Bowl of Ironman.
The Super Bowl, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was great. We went over, we performed at the Ironman Expo. We did kind of an acoustic show. And then while we were there, we're like, well, let's book a gig in a bar. So we played in a bar while we were there, and then we got to stay and watch the race, which was phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Really inspiring.
World-class athletes.
Absolutely.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a professional triathlete will finish the Ironman in how long?
Around 8 hours-ish,
man.
more or less. I think they maybe broke the record last year in Kona. I can't remember exactly what it was. But, they can, it's amazing that they can go. You add all the distances together, it's 140.6 miles. And, the winners are coming in at like 8 hours or something insane.
And those normal people that do it, like me, finish in twice that time.
Yes.
Twice that time. I finished in about 15:20 when I did it. So it's a long day.
It's a long day, but it's having now done them and been a spectator at them. That last hour of the night when you see those people coming in at the tail end,
so cool.
It's an awesome part of the race to watch.
Yeah.
I watched an 85, 86-year-old man from Japan finish in Kona last year on a day that was 100 degrees. Like that's some strong will.
That is some strong mind.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. Wow.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Real crazy. So let's circle back to Big Slick for a minute. So you got involved because of your long-standing relationship and friendship with these Kansas City celebrities.
Yep.
What exactly do you do to help? I mean, I'm sure a little bit of everything, being that it's all volunteer, but
yeah, it's the key thing I'm involved in is all our digital marketing, social media, the website, things like that. But I'm also the guy that brings the karaoke rig to the hotel for the weekend, and helps entertain our sponsors and our celebrities that come in over the weekend. We usually have a big group. So our 5 core guys that I mentioned invite their friends. And last year, I think it was probably one of our biggest. We had roughly 35, 40 of their celebrity friends that came into town for the weekend. And so, as you can imagine, trying to rein in that crowd for the weekend can be pretty entertaining.
Yeah. Is there anybody that you would love to see get invited and come?
Yeah, well, it's the invites every year. The lists are amazing. It's, obviously trying to
because you meet all these people, which is a lot of our listeners, that's probably like a bucket list thing. Just meet a celebrity, right?
It is, but what's funny is they've just become part of the family.
Yeah.
And
because they are just normal people too.
They're normal people,
right?
And they want to help kids. Yes, they have a lot of fun that weekend, but they're so generous with their time and their money and donating items for the auction, whatever it might be. But yeah, there's all kinds of people I'd love to see come. We always said we want Will Ferrell to come back. He came year one, and he hasn't been able to quite make it work with his schedule. We have people who have anniversaries that weekend, or at the last minute they get called for a movie shoot. So it's challenging to coordinate it every year.
Yeah.
But lots of great people have been involved over the years.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, Dave, you are quite the jack of all trades. as some may say, with experience in a little bit of it everywhere. And I think that's pretty inspirational. And
well, it's also, you can look at it as I'm not really good at any one thing.
Stop.
I'm half good at a lot of things.
Stop. Man. Well, I want to wrap up with 5 rapid fire questions that'll help listeners get to know you just a little bit better. What's your favorite quote?
One that I refer to a lot, and a good friend of mine will post routinely on Facebook recently, because I think at the moment I'm on 4 charity boards, 2 committees, and a couple of work groups. So there's a lot of volunteer work going on. Mm-hmm. And his favorite quote has always been, if you want to go far, or if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one always comes to play, because, when you have a group, whether it's your company or your friends or a charitable event,
or your triathlon community.
Or triathlon community, for sure. I probably wouldn't have finished that race if it wasn't for all of my friends. So
yeah, that's great.
That's always a good one.
Yeah. So you're getting pumped up for race day. What song are you listening to? Or performing, as the case may be.
Yeah. A lot of, I've been hooked on the 80s since the 80s. So most 80s music, bonus points if it's on the soundtrack of an 80s movie, something like The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
That usually does it for me. Anytime that song comes on, I start moving a little bit.
All right.
And we do perform that one too, so.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully soon there'll be some time we can all come out and watch.
I know. Yes. Hopefully we'll have a show soon.
Yeah, man.
It'll be
If not,
rusty.
it can be in my backyard.
That's fine.
I'd be glad to host. That's okay.
We'll do that. No venue too small for us.
Yeah. What accomplishment are you most proud of? Because we've talked about quite a few.
We have, yeah. I mean, one that we didn't talk about that is, probably something I'd be most proud of is just raising your kids. Like the last few weeks it's been in talking to my daughter. This is the first election she's voted in, and so to see somebody who's gone off to college in her first year, and she thinks her own way. She does her research. She's very passionate about some of the reasons that she wanted to vote so much this year, and so just seeing your kids have a really strong work ethic and be caring, kind, big-hearted people is really cool.
Yeah.
And then Slick, too.
They get that from their dad. I mean, look at how many charity boards you're on, for crying out loud.
Well, yeah. Hopefully they ignore all of my bad habits they've seen over the years, and some of the ones like that are the ones that stick. So.
What 2 bucket list items do you still have to accomplish? What still needs to be checked off?
Go to space. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you could loan me $50 million to get to the International Space Station,
I'm gonna defer to your friend Paul Rudd there. He's got more than I do.
No, that would be cool, of course. But I want to go to the Galapagos Islands for sure. Awesome location. Maybe a cage dive with a great white shark, something along those lines. Be very cool.
Not a whole lot of fear going on here with Dave.
Well, I haven't tried it yet, so I don't know.
Well, okay. You might pee your pants a little. I mean, it's not like you haven't done that before, I'm sure. That's one thing you learn about triathlon. You don't stop if you're riding your bike. Well, okay, well, the professionals don't.
If you're in the top 10% of triathlon, that's fine. Stay on your bike when you have to go. But I'm going to stop and go. I'm sorry. It's okay.
Oh, okay. Last question. Finish this sentence. I am most inspired by.
That's a good one. I get inspired by stories of people overcoming adversity or big challenges. Some of the biggest ones that come to mind are in our triathlon community. Watching John Blaze be the first person with ALS to cross the finish line.
Yeah.
So actually, well, I don't know when this is airing, but 2 days from when we're filming this, actually 1 day from when we're filming this, the first person with Down syndrome is starting an Ironman.
Wow.
This weekend at Ironman, Florida. Chris Nikic, I believe you pronounce his last name, 21 years old from Florida.
Wow.
He started his own foundation called the 1% Better Foundation. So how he learned to train for triathlon is if I can just be 1% better each day. And so he's...
What a great philosophy for life.
So the way he's raising funds is the 1% Better Challenge. And he's saying, you attempt to be 1% better every day for 30 days and then help someone else do the same.
Wow.
And that's how he's been raising money. So super
That's
pumped
really
for him
cool.
this weekend. He was the first person with Down syndrome to finish a half Ironman.
Okay.
So he's going for that this weekend in Florida.
Wow.
So
we'll definitely
those kind of
Google and
stories
see
are
how he
super
does.
inspiring to me.
Wow. That's great. Well, I think you're
awesome.
really inspiring, Dave.
Well, thank you, Trish.
And I'm so
appreciate
glad that you
having me.
joined us.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you guys joined us, tuned in. We appreciate you listening to Reedy, Set, Grow.
The Reedy, Set, Grow podcast with Trish Reedy.